Manuel Cortez Quero did not disappear suddenly. His disappearance was slow, quiet, and deliberate, shaped by fear rather than choice. When the Spanish Civil War ended in 1939, the fighting stopped, but the danger did not. For those who had supported the defeated Republican side, the war continued in whispers, accusations, arrests, and executions. Spain entered a long period where memory itself became dangerous. Neighbors watched neighbors. Silence became a form of survival. Manuel was not a famous man. He was not powerful. He was a local official, a husband, an ordinary citizen who had chosen a side in a war that destroyed ordinary lives. When Franco's regime consolidated power, men like Manuel became targets. Some were imprisoned immediately. Others were hunted years later. Rumors spread quickly. Names were remembered. Lists existed. Manuel understood that if he was found, there would be no trial worth trusting and no mercy worth expecting. At first, he fled his home. He hid in the countryside, sleeping wherever darkness allowed. But hiding outside was unpredictable. Too many eyes. Too many questions. Too much movement. Eventually, he returned to the only place that felt controllable, his own house. With the help of his wife, he began to prepare a hiding place beneath the floor. It was not a room. It was a hole. Narrow, low, suffocating. Bare earth pressed in from all sides. The ceiling was so low he could not stand. Even sitting upright was difficult. The plan was simple. Hide until things calmed down. A few weeks, a few months at most, Manuel believed the violence would fade, that memories would soften, that names would be forgotten. He entered the space one evening, carrying almost nothing with him. No books, no clock. No light source beyond a small lamp that was rarely used. The entrance was sealed above him. Darkness closed in. The first days were unbearable. Every sound felt amplified. Footsteps above him sounded like thunder. Voices echoed through the floorboards. Every knock on the door froze his blood. He learned quickly that movement was dangerous. Even shifting position created noise. He trained himself to remain still for long periods, controlling his breathing, slowing his heart, listening carefully to the world above. Food arrived quietly, irregularly. His wife risked everything to keep him alive. She brought small portions, rubbed carefully, always at different times. She never spoke while delivering them. Words could betray them. Patterns could be noticed. Their entire survival depended on invisibility. As days turned into weeks, Manuel's sense of time dissolved. Without sunlight, mornings and nights lost meaning. He measured time by hunger, by fatigue, by changes in sound above. He learned the daily rhythms of the house, when it was safest to eat, when silence was deepest, when danger was highest. Months passed, then a year. By then, the idea of leaving felt impossible. News filtered down through whispers and radio sounds from above. Arrests continued. Executions were discussed in hushed tones. Fear did not weaken. It hardened. Manuel realized his hiding was no longer temporary. It was becoming permanent. His body began to change. Muscles weakened from lack of movement. Joints stiffened. His legs cramped easily. He developed constant pain in his back and neck from remaining hunched for hours. His skin lost color. His eyes adjusted fully to darkness. Even the faintest light caused discomfort. Worse than the physical decline was the psychological erosion. Silence pressed on him constantly. With no conversation, his thoughts circled endlessly. Memories replayed without mercy. Regret, guilt, fear, and longing mixed together. He thought often about death, not as an escape, but as an inevitability. He wondered if dying underground would be better or worse than being executed above ground. To survive mentally, Manuel created routines. He counted breaths. He repeated old conversations in his mind to keep language alive. He mentally walked through familiar streets, reconstructing the world he could no longer see. He clung to memory as proof that he still existed. Seasons changed, though he never saw them. Summer brought unbearable heat. The underground space trapped warm air, turning it thick and suffocating. Sweat soaked into the earth. Breathing became difficult. Winter was crueler. Cold crept in silently, numbing his hands and feet. There was no fire, no warmth beyond thin blankets. The cold settled into his bones and stayed there. Years passed. Children were born above him. He heard their cries, then their laughter. He heard them learn to speak, then ask questions. He remained silent beneath them, a hidden presence no one suspected. Time moved forward relentlessly, indifferent to his existence. At times, Manuel considered revealing himself, stepping into the light, accepting whatever fate awaited him. But fear always won. Fear had become rational. Fear had kept him alive. The underground space, as miserable as it was predictable. Above ground was chaos. By the 5th year, Manuel no longer thought of himself as part of the outside world. He became something else, a shadow, a secret, a man suspended between life and death. Officially, he no longer existed. Some believed he was dead. Others forgot him entirely. His wife lived a double life, outwardly normal, inwardly burdened by a secret that could destroy her at any moment. She listened carefully to rumors. She watched neighbors closely. She aged under the weight of fear. Without her, Manuel would not have survived. Her silence was as essential as his hiding. As the years continued, political realities slowly shifted. Repression remained, but its intensity changed. New generations grew up. Old enemies aged. Yet Manuel did not trust these changes. He had lived too long under threat to believe in safety easily. Nearly 2 decades passed underground. When whispers of amnesty reached him, hope returned cautiously. Laws were discussed that might protect men like him. Names were mentioned of others who had emerged safely. Manuel waited longer. Months passed. Fear resisted hope. Finally, he decided to leave. The moment he emerged was overwhelming. Light assaulted his eyes. Sounds crashed into him from all directions. His legs shook violently. He could barely stand. He felt exposed, naked, vulnerable. The sky felt impossibly vast. Space itself felt threatening after years confined to darkness. People stared. Some recognized him with disbelief. Others did not recognize him at all. To many, he looked like a ghost returned from the dead. Doctors examined him, astonished by his survival. His body was weak, damaged by years of confinement, but his mind, though scarred, had endured. Returning to society was not simple. Manuel struggled with noise, crowds, open spaces. He avoided attention. He avoided questions. Sleep remained difficult. Even in safety, his body reacted as if danger were imminent. Fear does not vanish when circumstances change. It lingers, learned deeply over years. When people asked why he hid for so long, he had no simple answer. From the outside, his choice seemed extreme. From inside the darkness, it had been logical. Fear had been consistent. The world had not been. Manuel eventually became known as one of the moles, people who hid for years during the dictatorship. His story was documented, discussed, and analyzed. Yet no account could fully capture the experience of existing underground for nearly 20 years. The silence, the stillness, the erosion of time. He lived quietly afterward. He did not seek attention. He did not seek sympathy. The years he lost could never be recovered. They remained buried beneath the floor of his memory, just as he had once been buried beneath his home. Manuel Cortez Quero survived by shrinking his life to the smallest possible space. His story is not about heroism or victory. It is about endurance, about fear stretched across years, about how history can force ordinary people into extraordinary acts of survival. Wars end, regimes change, but for some, the consequences linger underground, in silence, long after the world above believes everything is over.